Starting up by Tragic Evil. Tragic Evil refers to villains whose malevolent actions stem from deep-seated trauma or suffering, making their villainy as pitiable as it is horrifying. Kid MiracleMan from Alan Moore's groundbreaking MiracleMan comics is one of the most heartbreaking and horrifying examples of innocence shattered into pure, unstoppable evil. He starts as Johnny Bates, a wide-eyed kid sidekick to the superhero MiracleMan, granted incredible powers by saying the magic word MiracleMan. Along with young MiracleMan, they form the MiracleMan family, fighting villains in a bright, optimistic world. But everything changes when a nuclear trap seemingly wipes them out. Young MiracleMan perishes for real. MiracleMan loses his memories and powers, reverting to his human life for decades. Johnny, however, survives in his superhuman form as Kid MiracleMan, refusing to switch back to his vulnerable kid self. Over nearly 20 years, isolation and unchecked power twist him into a cold corporate monster, hiding his growing corruption behind a facade of success as the head of Sunburst Cybernetics. When MiracleMan returns and confronts him, the facade cracks. Reverting briefly to Johnny, he's placed in a group home where he's relentlessly bullied and, well, subjected to unspeakable violations by older boys that we can't detail if we want this video to stay up. In a moment of utter despair, Johnny whispers the word again, unleashing Kid MiracleMan in a cataclysmic rage. He rampages through London, taking out tens of thousands in the most brutal ways you can imagine, tearing through crowds, setting everything ablaze, turning the city into a nightmare of chaos and destruction. No hero can stop him until MiracleMan and allies finally overpower him, but not before the world sees what trauma can forge. A godlike child turned apocalypse. Next up is Idealistic Evil. Idealistic evil refers to villains who commit atrocities in pursuit of a grand, often noble-seeming vision. Griffith from the anime and manga series Berserk is one of the most ambitious and chilling examples of a visionary-turned-monster, whose unyielding dream corrupts everything around him. He begins as the charismatic leader of the Band of the Hawk, a mercenary group fighting for glory and coin, with Griffith dreaming of claiming his own kingdom no matter the cost. He's brilliant, strategic, and inspires fierce loyalty, especially from his closest warrior Guts, who sees him as a brother in arms. But when Guts leaves to forge his own path, Griffith's world unravels. He loses a key battle, gets captured after a reckless affair with Princess Charlotte, and endures a year of brutal torture that leaves him a shattered husk, unable to walk or fight. Rescued by his old comrades, Griffith clutches the Crimson Beherit, a demonic artifact that activates during his deepest despair, pulling the band into a nightmarish realm called the Eclipse. There, the God Hand offers him godlike power and his kingdom if he sacrifices his followers' lives. Without a second thought, he brands them all for slaughter, watching as apostles devour his loyal band in a frenzy of horror. Reborn as Femto, the fifth God Hand member, his first divine act is something utterly despicable to Casca, Guts' love, right in front of him, leaving Guts broken and branded for eternal pursuit by demons. Griffith then builds Falconia, a utopian city amid apocalypse, posing as a savior while his ideals mask the ruins he left behind. And hey, in Griffith's defense, at least his build-a-perfect kingdom plan kind of worked, just at the expense of every soul who ever trusted him. Now let's move on to Empty Evil. Empty Evil refers to villains who embody a profound void of empathy, morality, or human connection, committing horrors with chilling detachment as if life itself holds no inherent value. Johan Liebert from the anime and manga series Monster is the most chilling and intellectually terrifying embodiments of hollow, soulless malice in fiction. He appears as an unassuming, almost angelic young man, blonde, polite, and disarmingly ordinary. But beneath that facade lies a master manipulator who destroys lives through sheer psychological precision without ever lifting a finger in violence himself. His origins trace back to a twisted childhood in East Germany, where he and his twin sister Anna were subjects in a secret experiment at the 511 Kinderheim Orphanage, a facility designed to strip away identities and forge obedient superhumans. Johann, however, turned the tables, orchestrating a massacre among the staff and children through whispers and suggestions alone, leaving the place in ruins. Escaping with Anna, Johann drifts through Europe, inserting himself into people's worlds like a ghost, unraveling them from the inside. He convinces the vulnerable to end their own lives, sows seeds of betrayal that shatter families and organizations, and even topples underground networks like the Red Rose Mansion by exploiting hidden weaknesses, all while pursuing a nihilistic quest to prove that good and evil are illusions, culminating in his desire for a perfect sui, you know the word, where someone else erases him entirely. Dr. Kenzo Tenma, the surgeon who saved his life as a boy, chases him relentlessly, haunted by the monster he unleashed. Johann's emptiness is absolute. He feels nothing, values nothing, and leaves trails of despair that echo long after he's gone. Moving on to Pure Evil. Pure evil is seen on villains who embody unadulterated malevolence without any redeeming qualities or deeper motivations, reveling in cruelty as an end in itself. Judge Holden from Cormac McCarthy's novel Blood Meridian is one of the most enigmatic and profoundly terrifying figures in literature. A towering embodiment of raw, existential malice that defies human understanding. He's introduced as a massive, hairless giant with pale skin and an unsettling intellect, joining the Glanton Gang, a band of ruthless scalp hunters rampaging through the lawless American-Mexican borderlands in the mid-1800s. The Kid, the story's young protagonist, encounters him amid the chaos of war and genocide, drawn in by the judge's charisma and vast knowledge of history, science, philosophy, and languages, even as his actions reveal a bottomless void of sadism. Holden doesn't just kill, he elevates violence to a cosmic principle, preaching that war is God and that whatever exists without his consent must be subjugated or destroyed. He participates in the gang's massacres of Native Americans and civilians, committing acts so heinous against men, women, and children that they're too graphic to describe. He crushes skulls with rocks, scalps the living, and is implicated in the disappearance and worse of vulnerable innocents, all while sketching artifacts in his ledger as if cataloging the universe for his own dominion. Immortal and unstoppable, he survives impossible ordeals, manipulates towns into lynching their own, and dances naked in the firelight, proclaiming he'll never die. Decades later, he confronts the Kid in a saloon, dragging him into an outhouse for an ambiguous but nightmarish fate, possibly involving assault or murder before resuming his eternal revelry. Holden's evil is pure, a force that sees humanity as mere clay to be warped and broken. Now let's take a look at manipulative evil. Manipulative evil refers to villains who master the art of deception and psychological domination, orchestrating elaborate schemes to control minds, loyalties, and destinies through cunning lies and hidden agendas. Friend from Naoki Urasawa's manga series 20th Century Boys is one of the most insidious and shadowy manipulators in fiction, an enigmatic cult leader whose web of deceit spans decades and engulfs the world in apocalyptic chaos. He emerges as a mysterious figure in modern Japan, adopting the alias Friend and a smiling mask symbol, as the head of a rapidly growing religious organization that promises salvation and unity. But his true origins lie in the childhood of protagonist Kenji Endo and his friends, who as kids created a book of prophecy filled with imaginative doomsday scenarios, ideas that Friend twists into a blueprint for real-world terror, including viral outbreaks, giant robots, and global domination. Friend infiltrates society by preying on insecurities and nostalgia, recruiting followers through staged miracles and prophecies that he fulfills himself, turning ordinary people into fanatical devotees willing to commit atrocities in his name. He orchestrates assassinations, frames innocents, and even fakes his own death multiple times to solidify his messianic image, all while staying one step ahead of Kenji's ragtag resistance group, who uncover clues from their past to expose him. His manipulations run so deep that he plants false memories, turns allies against each other, and engineers a bloody New Year's Eve event that claims countless lives, positioning himself as humanity's savior amid the ruins he created. In the end, Friend's identity reveal ties back to a tragic, overlooked childhood grudge, but his evil is all about the thrill of absolute control, erasing free will one lie at a time. And last but not least, lawful evil. It refers to villains who enforce a rigid, merciless code of justice, methodically executing punishment on the guilty with unyielding discipline as if embodying some inescapable law. Pyramid Head from the Silent Hill horror game series, especially Silent Hill 2, is one of the most iconic and psychologically crushing enforcers of twisted retribution in fiction. He manifests in the fog-shrouded nightmare of Silent Hill as a towering executioner born from protagonist James Sunderland's overwhelming guilt over euthanizing his terminally ill wife, Mary, his subconscious craving punishment for the mercy killing he can't admit. Clad in a blood-stained butcher's apron and wearing a massive, rusted pyramid helmet that muffles any humanity, Pyramid Head stalks the streets with his enormous great knife, dragging it behind him to announce inevitable judgment, the screeching metal a harbinger of doom. He butchers grotesque manifestations of James's sins, corners and slaughters Eddie Dombrowski in a bloody showdown for his own murders, and subjects a doppelganger of James's idealized mistress, Maria, to a prolonged violation so harrowing and explicit that it's too disturbing to unpack. He represents lawful torment, forcing James to confront his crimes through ritualistic chases and arena executions. Only by facing and defeating his dual-wielding form does James earn a shot at absolution, but the specter lingers as a symbol of self-inflicted hell.